This is Spotlight Omaha. Spotlight Omaha is a local podcast that highlights local businesses and influential movers and shakers in the Omaha business community. Spotlight Omaha is brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing. Now, from the Pyramid Contractor Studios, the host of Spotlight Omaha, Jimmy Allen.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome inside. I guess it's afternoon. I don't get to say that. It is. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome inside the Spotlight Omaha podcast, where we take you around the city of Omaha, introduce you to local business owners, influential figures, and people who are making an impact on our community. We are brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing. Pixel Fire Marketing is a locally owned marketing firm that specializes in website design, creating social media ads, and engaging your brand online. If your business isn't showing up at the top of Google searches, pixelfiremarketing.com is here to help. Joining me inside the Pyramid Contractor Studios, Tim Silknitter with GITT Construction. Tim,
thank you, Jimmy.
I always tell people this is a hobby of mine because I get to hang out with all my friends and talk. We haven't had a chance to do this yet, so I'm really excited to have this conversation.
You bet.
Hey, when you guys do as much as you do at GITT, and we talk about home remodel and design and all of that, is it tough for you to kind of navigate the waters of which part of what you do is your favorite?
Yeah, I think the best part, the most rewarding part, is at the end of the job when you walk away from the job and the family's using the space, and
sure,
everything else before that's more of a challenge. You know, we want to make it easy for the client, but it's really at the end. You see them smile and they use their kitchen more, their new addition, and so that's the best part.
I have to ask you, we're gonna get to the pro awards that you guys all want in a minute, but I was sitting there and I was watching all the remodeling you guys have done, and the awards you're winning were for a lot of older homes and what is making old new again. And it left me a little surprised, not that you guys won, but that people are willing to, because there's a lot of really cool old homes in Omaha.
Oh, yeah.
Are you surprised with the amount of older homes that you guys are remodeling?
No, not necessarily. So the typical client that chooses us is somebody we call a heritage or a legacy client. Sure. It's somebody who really enjoys their neighborhood, enjoys their home. It could be a family home that they were raised in, or a home that they always desired to be in. And you know, they have some good lit rates, so they don't want to move. And and so they want to invest in their home, and they want it to make it something that they really enjoy from the design aspect, utilization, you know, organizational aspect. And so we're really big on communication, collaboration. You know, typically work with the designer on all of our projects. So no, it doesn't surprise me. It does come with challenges, though. So
like just because of the age of the home, usually?
Yeah, the age of the home. You know, once we get below, you know, the 70s and below, we have to start looking for asbestos and, you know, lead or some other hazardous material. And so we really have to start examining before we open the walls what's in there, because we don't want to bring those contaminants into their everyday lives if they're staying there.
Is that something that, I mean, because obviously each homeowner is different, so it's probably different for each one, but is that something most homeowners in an older house like that are expecting? Or is that
100%.
Okay.
I would say 90% of the time, the homeowners immediately come to us and say, we believe, you know, there's lead here or asbestos here or some other contaminant, or, you know, mold's a big one too in these older homes. And so, yeah, they usually come to us and say, yeah, we've had some pipe breaks, or we've had this tested before. And so, yeah, they're very aware. They understand when they buy those homes what they come with. So
what does GITT Construction to kind of do to make sure that you're preventing those issues for those houses if they do have asbestos?
So we work with a couple of testing companies that come in and test for either mold, again, lead, asbestos. When they come in and they test, we give it usually 1 to 2 week turnaround before we get the results. Sometimes it's instant. And then that'll tell us how we're going to proceed. Sometimes we need to take the homeowners out of the house for a weekend or a couple days. Other times they can stay there, but we tent it up literally like a tent. I don't know if you ever seen Breaking Bad, where they tent the house when they do drugs in it.
Sure.
But it sometimes looks like that. We warn our clients.
We just rewatched that episode.
We warn our clients, like, okay, this is not Dexter. This is not Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
But it does have similar feel to it. So, yeah, we try to protect them as much as we can.
When we talk about working with the homeowner for the first time, and again, everyone's different, but does there seem to be a pretty consistent, this is the room we want to focus on, or this is the addition that we have? Which one is it?
Yeah, it's mostly the kitchen, and then it goes to master bath. The primary is what we call it nowadays. But the other thing, too, is it's not uncommon for us to get started, say, in a kitchen, and it floats into a dining room or first floor bathroom, or it becomes a whole home remodel.
Because they see what it looks like.
Yeah, they see what it looks like. They already see us there. They're like, you know what? We do have a little more funding in our account we can spend. We didn't want to, but you know what? While you're here, let's just get it all done. Let's get the construction mess done. while you're here. So we do see that quite often. I'd probably say 50% of the time the project goes from a kitchen to something else in the home. And it's also good for them because they can take advantage of it. We're already there. We're already doing work. It's not much more cost. It's just the cost of materials and labor, but the subs don't have to come back and they're not paying for subs coming back 2-3 times. So it's to their benefit to get the work done at once.
The funding portion of it is interesting to me. And this is different for each business owner because a lot of people are offering financing now.
Right.
Is that something you guys have ever kicked around the tires on, or is it so extreme in the complete remodel industry that you can't?
We have always offered financing, but we have yet to have anybody take us up on it. I think most people, again, if you use a finance company, an outside finance company, they're usually going to add 0.5% or 1%. If they go to their home equity bank or their personal bank, they can usually get a better rate that way.
Sure.
I would say it's probably 50-50. Some people finance it. Some people don't need to finance the whole project. And then I would say the people that do finance, they come with half of it in cash. And then they finance the rest. So it's not a big burden for them.
And
they do understand there's going to be a $300 to $500 payment when we're done to the bank. But if they can do that, it really helps them out. And we've also had several clients where we give them the price and then they don't come back for 2 years, but then they pay cash.
Sure.
So they're really smart about how they do it.
Is that tough for you as a business owner to have those conversations? Because a lot of what we're running into is people, especially new business owners, are like, I didn't know I have to wait this long on X amount of payments, or haven't seen down and have a conversation, putting the effort in. Not that you're not passionate about it, but put the effort into a sale and then having to wait, almost 700 days to have that conversation.
It is. It's nice to know that they trust us and build that relationship up. And there's a mutual trust between us. We're not going to go anywhere. We're not going to raise the price unless it's material price raised.
Right.
We're not going to raise our margin or markup or anything like that. It's still set the same. We are cost plus, so what you get is what you pay for. There's no hidden costs, hidden fees, anything like that. So they pretty much know what they're going to get from day one. But when they do have to wait, it just makes it that much funner for both of us, if that's even a word.
It is now.
It just adds to the excitement.
Yeah.
And we build a relationship over that period of time. So
I couldn't help but notice one time you guys have a beautiful showroom.
Yeah.
We were in a networking meeting together.
Yep.
And the subject of non-slam cabinets got brought up.
Yeah.
And I watched everybody in the room that had seen these things drop their jaw and talk about them glowingly.
Yeah.
What are some of the features that you guys offer in your showroom that make people excited?
Yeah. So some of the products that we represent, we're really a mid to higher tier remodeler. I don't even know. I wouldn't say we're an entry remodeler at all.
Sure.
Again, because we always use designers, we use high quality products. When we look at cabinets, we're looking at, not just particle size, but we're looking plywood size panels. Why is that different? Because it's more rigid, it's structural sound. We're looking at factory finish. So again, that's a higher price than painting them in the field. I'm a big proponent of a UV factory finish cabinet. You can't beat, you're getting a product from the factory that's similar to your dining room table or your end tables, and it's durable. It's going to hold up to abuse and use. When you're spraying cabinets out in the field, you're really relying on the guy who's spraying it, who feels good that day or doesn't feel good that day. And, maybe their sprayer didn't work right or the mix didn't get mixed right. And, we get factory cabinets, a lifetime warranty. So that's huge. And then the other products that they get to choose is, most people go with quartz countertops. So that's a good product. Again, a little more pricey than granite or a natural stone. But again, longevity, if you're staying in the house longer than 10 years, you're going to recoup some of that back, not in resale, but you're going to recoup it back just in the joy of your house and what you're doing. So we strongly encourage people to stay at a mid-level price point and go up. You can always go down. We always get really competitive, use some, more price competitive products if we have to, but we want to give a client the best product for their buck. So
we're catching up with Walter White himself, Tim Silknitter here on the Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing and Pyramid Contractors. This is more of a personal question for me, just because the construction industry it interests me so much, and the work that goes into it. All my real estate friends and people that are looking at buying new houses are talking about open concepts and opening up kitchens and opening up living rooms and things like that. Is that as simple as some people make it seem, or is it really dependent on the house?
New construction, it's really simple, simple. Yeah. Design and open floor plan, great. When it comes to remodel, we're doing one right now. It's in the Regency area. Every wall was a room. Every doorway, nothing was wider than 4 foot. And so we had to take out all those headers, re-put them in the up between the floor joist. So it was a big undertaking, and we have to make sure that load gets transferred downstairs to a steel beam or outside wall. So it's not just opening. So designers will say, I just want to open it another foot. Well, that another foot may make us go all the way back to 2 bearing points, and the 2 bearing points are 14 feet apart. Yeah. So it's not as simple as just, I want to open it a foot. We really got to understand that structure and things like that. And we do bring in structural engineers, to qualify and to stamp it and say, this is what we need. So, yeah, but the open concept is big, especially in the kitchen area where everybody starts to gather, the friends gather there. It's where your party starts. It's usually where your party ends.
Sure.
So yeah, the open concept is true. Now there has been some lately in this past year, 6 months, that they're saying some clients want to bring back, not so much open.
Okay.
They want to bring back a few rooms that are open, but not the whole floor plan because, the kids are playing in this room and we don't need to hear it in the kitchen or eating area. So
Sure.
there is some of that where they're still separating the rooms, but open concept's a big request.
You guys have a few designers on staff with you.
Yeah.
When I think a lot of people look at that as a positive and some maybe as a negative from the standpoint of people trying, okay, how do I know I'm getting the right information from the right person?
Yeah.
How difficult is it for you as the owner to say, I'm going to take my business, I'm going to put it in the hands of a designer, hire somebody to come in, but I want to value their input and make sure that my homeowners are getting the right advice as well?
So we always approach every job with, have you worked with a designer? Number one, we feel you have to work with an interior designer. You can gain so much more for your buck if you just work with an interior designer. Yeah, they cost a little more, it adds a little more to the project, but in the long run, you're gaining much more with them, finishes, colors, space, the sizing. And then they also are looking at textures and, how the sight lines look and everything else. And somebody walks in that house for the first time after designer, they can tell that someone put some attention into it. So we always recommend that.
It's a fresh set of eyes too, right?
Yeah, total fresh set of eyes. And they look at things very different from a contractor. I do have a degree in architecture with design emphasis, but I'm not a designer. I can see what they see, but I'm not as talented as they are. They know what they're doing. We do have some in-house designers. They're more cabinet, kitchen, friendly layout designers. But there is a difference between an interior designer and then just a kitchen or cabinet designer. That interior designer is going to get you, again, colors, textures, feels, really understanding that space and that usage. Whereas maybe our inside designers and our clients use both all the time. It's probably 50-50. But the inside designers, if you don't have that budget for a large interior designer, they can do it on a much a lower budget, if you will, because they're just looking at the cabinets and the total layout. But they're not going to get you your carpet or your furniture or drapes or anything like that. You can go get that on your own. So
this question comes in from Shannon on YouTube. She wanted to know, how difficult is it to move a laundry room?
It could be very difficult.
Okay.
We get that probably every other week.
Based on the number of question marks, I feel like this is a pain point for Shannon.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We can always go out and look at it, give you ideas. That doesn't charge. We actually enjoy that part of it. We give you 1 hour of our time in your home and just give you an idea of what we can do. Sometimes it's easy. Sometimes the basement's open and we can move it. Some people want to move it up to the upstairs. That gets very costly. So, yeah.
You brought up new builds, and is that something that you guys are doing from foundation up? And how often is that happening versus a remodel?
We don't.
Okay.
We are going to start a new build division probably later this year. But we're going to take a very soft approach, maybe do 1 or 2 homes. But that's probably still in the works. I'm not going to say definitively we're going to do that, but we've had some existing clients approach us for new builds, and I think we'll keep it very small. But we can do it. There's no issues at all. We've done some, $850,000 remodels up to $1 million remodels. So we can do those large projects. It's just biting it off one piece at a time.
Sure.
It's coordination, scheduling
too. Because just getting to know you kind of feels like you like the revamping, the remodeling portion of it.
I really like the revamp and remodel. I do. I like to see what we can transform a space to. It's also interesting to work with the designers and see what they come up with.
Yeah.
It's also more of a challenge. For a new build, we just build off what's there, what's the plans, right?
Yeah.
With the remodel, we never know. We open a wall and it's a discovery process every step of the way. So it's a much more challenging, I would say, and some people might disagree with me, but I find remodeling much more challenging than new construction.
It doesn't feel like it quite yet, but spring's right around the corner.
Oh, yeah.
And that's probably when you guys get out to home shows and do different types of events. We talk about construction. What type of events do you like to make sure in the Omaha area that you show up to?
So pro remodeling, if I can pitch anything, if anybody's listening out there, go to Pro. It's Professional Remodelers Organization, Nebraska, Iowa. If you go on there in April, I think it's the second or third week in April, we have home tours, and people can actually go into those homes of clients that I've worked with and other contractors and other designers, and they can get ideas of, oh, I want this, I want that. You can also interview right there on the spot and see, if I want a contractor, you can look at their quality of work. And most of the time, for at least for our clients, they'll stay there, so they're freely open. You can ask questions. We get a lot of leads that way, in the sense that we're being very open, our clients are being open, and it's building trust right there on the spot. So that's one of the great things I would do if I was looking for a remodel. I'd get to Professional Remodelers Organization, Omaha, or excuse me, Nebraska, Iowa, and look at that website. There's some great contractors on there. I'd like to say I'm great too, but there's some amazing contractors there.
I want to touch on that, because I think in the year of doing this show, this has been the most interesting thing to me. When we talk about business, it's always supposed to be cutthroat and dog eat dog. And the first one there wins, right?
Yeah.
But in here, it's been a completely different concept. And it doesn't matter if we're talking to a massage therapist, somebody that's opening a bar for the first time, or a general contractor. Was that surprising to you when you first got into the industry?
It kind of is. I came from the commercial construction side, and that was very dog eat dog, very price competitive, a lot of angst, a lot of stress and anxiety, and I don't want to say yelling, but it came with a lot of stress.
Yelling.
Yeah. So when I came over to the remodel side, it was very much collaboration. For instance, last week I had a lunch with a contractor. We're competitors, but we were in different markets of the city. We've even mentioned we've never run across each other, but we share business practices. How do you handle insurance? How do you handle, a sub that doesn't show up? So we do that. This week I'm meeting with another general contractor. Again, he does more restoration and remodel for that type of work. I don't do any of that. So I'll even refer him back. So if someone's pipe breaks, or, they have a fire or something, I'll say, hey, go to Mark. He's a great guy. He does well work.
What's Mark's last name?
Daly.
Mark Daly. We'll give you a free shout out, Mark.
Yeah. Four Corners Restoration. Great guy. And so those people out there, they're reputable. They have families, they're in the market. They're doing great work. Why not give them a reference?
Sure.
So there's plenty of work.
We're catching up with Tim Silknitter of GITT Construction here on the Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing and Pyramid Contractors. Walk me through the process. I'm a homeowner. I'm calling you for the first time.
Yep.
What does it look like?
Well, the first thing to do, we have a 14-point question on the phone with them, make sure that we're the right contractor and we're the right client for them, vice versa. So we go through that. Once they pass that, and if they don't, we actually give them names that we recommend. So maybe their budget's lower, maybe they're not in the right part of town for us. Maybe it's not they don't want to hire a designer. So when they say all no's to those, sometimes it's just, we know it's not the right fit for us.
You don't want to waste anybody's time.
Yeah, no. And we want to be fair to them. I even got a price point. I don't even know if I can afford myself some days, right? So, but there's times where we have to give a reference to somebody else, and we'll do that on the phone. The next step is we come out to the home and we look at what we're dealing with. We try to find out what the client's needs are, and then we can go back and say, okay, what designer are we going to bring in? Or maybe we don't need a designer. Sometimes we get a client that's very savvy. They have that eye. They know exactly what they want. We won't bring it in. At that point, we price it out. We typically bring them back into the office to really show them on the screen what they're getting. We break out every single price. So from demo to drywall to electrical to plumbing, they see it all listed out. And so we're not trying to cover anything, not trying to hide anything. They see the cost, and then we mark it up after that. So that's how we're cost plus. I would say some contractors in the markets are cost plus. Some are just a guaranteed maximum price. It's like, this is what you're getting for this price. That's great too. To each their own, right? Everybody's got a different business model. For me, I just like to keep track of it as cost plus, because then at the end, you know what you're going to pay, or whatever happens at the end is truthful. And then go through the construction process. Most kitchens typically last anywhere from 2 to 3 months if it's a total gut. If it's just an update or refresh, kind of thing, maybe it's only 6 to 8, maybe 10 weeks at most. If it's a full home remodel, and now we're talking 5-6 months, and you got to move out, we're going to kick you out. If it's a bathroom, it could be anywhere from 8 weeks to 12 weeks, depending on what we're doing. But things do take time. I think that's the thing that shocks people. It's like, oh my goodness, why does it take so long?
Well, Trim Homemaker over does it in 30 minutes.
Yeah. And I don't know how they do that, but they're just like covering things up. We're actually taking drywall off and redoing plumbing and doing the things that should be done.
Once I get this video edited for you, you'll understand how they do that. When we talk about having that conversation, those 14 questions, and the answer is no, and we're not a fit. Is that tough for you as the business owner? Okay.
It really is. It's tough for one reason probably, and that is I always want to be helping somebody, and
that's
I can't.
Why I asked. Yeah.
And it's just like, oh man, I wish I could help you. And there has been times where there's a special needs person in the house, or maybe they don't have the budget, but they're a retired couple, and I'm like, okay, let's do this one. I feel comfortable doing this one for a lower price point, and sometimes that turns out good, and sometimes it ends up backfiring, on the margin, or even the client's more demanding than what we thought. But
probably still makes it the right thing to do.
Yeah, it still makes it the right thing to do. Our team is a ton of fun. I mean, they're whistling while they work, they're telling jokes. So a lot of our clients, when we leave, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to miss you guys so much. This has been the most fun I've ever had. And so that stigma with contractors, I don't know where it comes from, but it's certainly not our company.
Yeah.
We're very personable, very down to earth. We all got kids and dogs, so we always expect something not to go right.
Right. Amen to that.
It's never perfect when you got kids and dogs and a wife. And so we just go with the flow and get it done. And at the end, it's going to be right. So
you mentioned working in different part of towns and etc. We talked about the process, but if somebody's the ideal client, what does that look like for you?
So typically an ideal client is somebody who understands the value of their home, and they want to add more value to it. So whether that's through a designer or us, and it could be anywhere from, Midtown straight out west. And we've been to Valley as far as we'll go, but we won't go to Fremont or Blair. We typically don't go to Papillion just because there's, it's just a challenge for us. Our office is more out west. And so, or Bellevue, we certainly don't go to. And there's other contractors in those markets that do a much better job. Why charge somebody,
because they know
my guy's time to drive an hour each way, or 40 minutes each way, and load up equipment and take it? That's just doing a disservice to the client, because in my mind, now you're just paying for my guy's drive time.
Sure.
When if I'm close,
they could be in your house working on something.
Yeah. If I'm within, 10, 15 minutes of our office, it's true production, and the owner's getting the best bang for their buck. So that's really why we do it, just to make it close.
You're an entrepreneur all the way down to your core. What does growth look like for GITT Construction in the next 2 to 3 years?
So we always want to reach a 10 to 20% growth. That's what we've always done. This year we are well over that.
That's surprising to you?
No, I got more of a business side background, so I know how to push that number and really gain knowledge of it. We could be 25 or 30% growth, but I don't know if I want to do that, because then it's too much of a
managing
stress.
The growth then, right?
Yeah. And it's more comfortable when you have 10 to 20% growth. You start getting over that 20%, and now you're looking at 30, 40% growth, and it could really strain on the staff and this equipment. We don't give that quality of service either, so we want to be right there on the edge. I had an old boss that said, Mario Andretti always went through the corner, but every corner he went through, he thought he was going to lose control.
Right.
And so that's kind of where we want to be, but we want to step it back even a little less than that. We don't want to be Mario.
F1 reference on the show.
We don't want to be a Mario Andretti with every project. So we want to push the edge, but not that hard. Maybe it's NASCAR. I don't know.
When we talk about growth and handling that and doing it within a certain mileage of the office, and you see Gretna exploding, and you see Elkhorn seeing this renaissance, and a lot of the boroughs in Omaha are getting a lot of money dumped into the community. Is that better for business, or are you so honed in on where you want to work at that doesn't really affect day to day?
It's better for all of us. It's better for the community. It's driving up the economy. Whether it's the guy selling me the material from Builder Supply or Millard Lumber, it's better for the small guy. There's Z Tile in town, and he's a small business owner that sells tile. It's good for him.
I'd love to have him on the show if you had his
contact. Oh, absolutely, great guy. So it's better for all of us. Growth is good. I think what's beneficial to a remodeler right now in Omaha is a low interest rates over the last couple of years, and people are like, I'm not moving, and I'm like, why would you? We met a guy
3.4 on mine, bud.
There's a guy last week, 2.75, and I'm like, you will never move.
All right,
you should never. He's got the high school this way, elementary that way, middle school this way. I'm like, dude, you're set till the kids are in college.
Exactly my situation.
Yeah. I mean, like, you hit a home run here. And so he's looking at investing in the basement. His kids are 3 and 5. I'm like, it's too early for the basement. Save some more money up. Why don't you do it when they're 9, 10, 12? That's really when they're going to start using that basement. But save that money up. We'll be back to work with you. But he just didn't have the budget for what he wanted. Nice home, nice guy, great family. But
this wasn't the right time.
I don't think it's the right time. I told him, I said, look, your little kids are not going to care if there's concrete walls.
Right.
And
not anytime soon anyway.
Yeah, not time soon. Yeah.
Nebraska goes 7-6 this football season. They win a bowl game.
Yeah.
You still seem disappointed. Disappointed your
Yeah, it was. I really, it really comes down to that Iowa loss.
Yeah.
They had that game.
5-1, I mean.
Yeah, they had that game, and they just missed it. But this next year is going to be awesome.
Should be fun.
And so
I don't think I've asked this question yet, which is surprising for what I do at night.
Yeah.
In the construction business, do you see an uptick in business like almost everybody else in the state when that program in Lincoln's doing well?
I've never thought of it.
Okay.
I bet it is. I bet there is some correlation.
Because I've got some friends or some people that have come in here about that 5-1 run. There's a lot of people, happy people in this.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's some more people that get excited and
sure,
feel a little more comfortable in their environment. So
we're kind of hitting the point where we tend to shut her down for the day. Is there anything about GITT Construction that we haven't mentioned that you'd like people to know?
Just we're down to earth people. Go to the website gittdbr.com. Melissa's my project manager. She really makes us who we are.
Sure.
We got Travis, our controller, and then we got Craig and Austin. They're our 2 lead carpenters out in the field. Phenomenal guys. And then we got Reese and Justin and Connor out there in the field. They are the salts of the earth dudes. We'd love to work with you. We'd love to work with designers. So anything we do. And right now we're not that far out. I'm kind of shocked. Typically at this point, we're a little further out. We're probably only 3 to 4 months out. We're typically run about 6 to 9 months out. So it tends to slow down in the winter and then it speeds right back up once the warm weather comes. So, but
does that go back to people not really understanding timeframes and how quickly?
Oh, very much so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they all call us and like, can we start next
week?
week?
What do you mean you can't do it in April?
Yeah, no. We got to order materials. We got to set schedules. We got to get subs available.
Yeah.
So it's been
give us the website one more time.
GITT DBR. So GITTDBR.com. So GITTDBR.com. Great website. We had a lady do it for us, so she's doing a phenomenal job.
If you are looking in the market to have a remodel done in your house, or if maybe you just want to work with Tim and his team and have a designer come in, take a look and find out what they can do for you, check out the website and work with them today. We'll be back tomorrow with Jacob Mahalski from Rocky Design talking about the outside of homes and how he's affecting that here in the Omaha area. Hopefully you can join us tomorrow at 11. Thanks for joining us here on the Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing and Pyramid Contractors.